Welcome, Crypto Fam, to the No. 1 Daily Bitcoin Pod. In today's show, I'll be sharing the latest technical analysis as we bottomed out at 74,420 before the current recovery. We'll also be taking a look at the overall crypto market, as well as breaking news. Pakistan appoints Binance former CEO CZ as their strategic advisor on cryptocurrency. Also, the Bitcoin hash rate tops 1 zettahash in a historic first, according to the latest tracker. We'll also be discussing crypto ETP shed 240 million last week amid the current U.S. trade tariffs. We'll also be discussing McGregor's token creators to refund the bidders after a failed launch. That's right, they didn't even hit their goal of $1 million. I told you guys to stay away from that. We'll also be discussing Michael Saylor's strategy halts Bitcoin buys despite a dip below 87 Gs. Actually, the dip was below, in the 74 range. We'll also be discussing if history repeats back in 2020, the market crashed 45%, and a 45% crash from the 109 top would take us down to the 60,000 range before soaring 10x. That's right, a SkyRocket 10x from there would take us to 600,000 per coin if history is to rhyme or repeat. We'll also be taking a look at the overall crypto market. All this plus so much more in today's show. If you're new to the channel, important to smash the likes, go ahead, subscribe, ring that bell, turn on all notifications. That way you get notified each and every day when I go live. Today is pod episode 1956. I'm your host, JV. It's March 7th, 2025. Hell of a volatility ride for Bitcoiners. Today we bottomed out at 74,420. Happy 420 for the broskies. We recovered 80 and we're currently at 78.3 at the time of the live stream. Let's kick it off with our market watch. As you can see on Coin360, Bitcoin, nice little recovery from 74. Ether still down 4% on the day, all the way down to 15. We saw it touch in the 14 range earlier. XRP down 5%, trading at $1.90. A lot of the top alts correcting and in the red. Checking out coinmarketcap.com. The current crypto market cap sits just shy of 2.5 trillion. The bidding market cap just above 1.5 trillion. We have 224 billion in volume, which is high, up 222% in the past 24 hours. Bitcoin dominance has been on the climb past couple of days. Currently 62.5%. Ether dominance has been on the decline, all the way down to 7.5%, which is the lowest we have seen it in years. And checking out top 100 crypto gainers past 24 hours. Can't make this shit up, folks. Fartcoin leading the pack. Let her rip, Fartcoin. Up 15% on the day, followed by Hyperliquid, up 8%, followed by Pendle, up 7%. Which alts, if any, are you bullish on for the bull? Holla. And checking out the crypto bubbles, we get a visual perspective starting here on the day. Safe to say, I'd say 60-40 green over red. Zooming out on the weekly, 90-10 red over green. Zooming out on the monthly, very similar, 90-10 red over green. A lot of the alts pretty much wrecked 10, 20, 30, 40%. And checking out the crypto greed and fear index. Today we're back in extreme fear. The silver lining is the lower this number goes, the more likely of a pump. And today we're 23. Yesterday at 34. Last week at 34. And last month a 28 in fear. And checking out the infamous time chain calendar. We have 158,636 blocks into the halving of 2028. We're currently on block number 891,364, and you currently exchange one fiat monopoly dollar for 1,277 sats. Pick up the sats, put down the gats, pick up some Bitcoin caps from my man Sergio over at bitcoincaps.net. Headline reads, Bitcoin price retakes 80,000 as U.S. stocks avoid Black Monday meltdown. That's right, broskies. Bitcoin sought a relief rally into the April 7th Wall Street open as U.S. stocks rebounded from a 4% loss. You can see Bitcoin bottomed at precisely 74,420, and I'm not making that up. That's the exact number via Coinbase, via the hourly chart. Trading views showed the area of around 80,000 forming a focus for Bitcoin after the pair hit a 5-month low. The fallout from the U.S. trade tariff continued to ricochet across the global markets, with Asia stocks closing the day with a considerable loss. At the same time, reports of a potential 90-day pause in the tariffs going live against the background of negotiations with over 50 U.S. trading partners help pair the losses in the futures markets ahead of the open and allowed the S&P and NASDAQ to avert a Black Monday 1987 style implosion. According to the Kabisi letter, NASDAQ futures were down nearly 7% at their lowest point last night. They also acknowledged the S&P fallen more than 20% from the February all-time high, opening in bear market territory for the first time since 2022. And here's a look at those stocks via the charts. S&P. Now check it. Continuing trading firm QCP Capital called international engagement over the tariffs remarkable, quoting them here. Yes, as the world scrambles to secure a seat at the table, markets are likely to remain on edge. And they also said the president, showing no signs of backing down, remarked that he doesn't want stocks to fall, but sometimes you have to take medicine. And with confidence in the credibility of the U.S. economy hanging in the balance, the coming days could prove too bitter a pill for the global markets and for Trump himself if meaningful progress isn't made before Wednesday. Now, meanwhile, Bitcoin attempted to solidify support in the mid 70,000 range, having come within spitting distance of the old all-time high. And I want to remind you guys, we've never seen Bitcoin go before, basically, after having the following cycle, it's never returned to the previous, below the previous cycle peak high, meaning we have never seen it go back. We shouldn't be anticipating it going back under 69, but we have retraced 45% in 2020. I was studying the charts earlier, and I'll discuss this in a little more details. We dropped 45% from the all-time high, previous cycle. If that were to repeat from 109, the current all-time high, that means we could potentially drop to 60. But the silver lining, after we did drop, post, I call it Novid era in 2020 in March, we dropped to 4,000, and then we soared within 12 months to 60,000. And then by November of 2021, we hit the cycle peak of 69,000. So if history is to repeat, we could potentially drop to 60 before climbing to 600,000, just FYI. And I'll show you what I'm talking about in a little bit. Quoting Glassnode, for now, Bitcoin seems to have found support at 74. This aligns with the first major supply cluster below 80, over 50,000, Bitcoin at 74.2. This level is mostly held by investors who have been active for 5 months, steadily raising their cost basis under 10 of March, after which they remain dormant. They also point out that the lows of 70 was another 175,000 BTC of cost basis clusters. The single largest level within this range was 71.6, holding around 41,000 BTC. The next more substantial support, 69.9, where 68,000 BTC are held. And breaking news, Pakistan, interesting, appoints Binance former CEO CZ as their strategic advisor on crypto. Ultimately, Pakistan's crypto czar is CZ, who had to pay that $4.3 billion fine to the Department of Justice for allegedly, doing some shady business. But nonetheless, that's pretty interesting. And I promised to pull up some of the charts, so check this out. This is pretty mind-boggling. We'll start with the 1 hour and work our way back. This is live chart action Jackson via Coinbase Satisfaction, via TradingView. The 1 hour chart does show we did drop all the way down. Again, 74,420 is the bottom. We recovered to 80, and now we're currently at 78.5. We do have an orange bear target scenario in play at 73,445. Let me know if you think the bottom is in, or you think we're likely to continue correcting amongst the tariff war with the Trumpster and the world here. Zooming out on the 4 hour, we also, as you can see, we had the big red candle down to the 74,420. Then we had a couple of recovery candles, and here we are. We also have a bottom target sitting at 73.4 in the 4 hour chart. Zooming out a little further, taking a look at a daily. The daily chart, you can see big red formation, unfortunately, but nonetheless, we're starting to bounce back. We do have a bull scenario in the red at 113, which would take us back to price discovery. Again, it's currently 109.3, which was achieved all the way back in January on Inauguration Day, believe it or not. And we have the bear scenario sitting all the way down at 49, and we also have one just shy of 69. You guys let me know if you think 69 will maintain, or do you think we'll retest the previous cycle all-time high, which we have never dipped below before in the history of Bitcoin? You guys let me know your thoughts. Zooming out a little further, we're going to take a look at a weekly. And the weekly chart still has the 124,000 cup and handle target on the screen. And obviously, we've been trading sideways and correcting the past few weeks. Zooming out a little further, we'll take a look at a monthly. And thus far, April has been disappointing. Since January, it's been downhill. But let's see if we can recover here in Q2 as the month is still early for April before we get that close at the end of the month. Let's continue with the news, fam. Next headline of the day. Let's see. Bitcoin, the silver lining here, though we just corrected to like a multi-month low, the hash rate just broke out, hit a zeta hash or zeta hash. I don't know how I even pronounce it because the number is so huge. I don't think I've ever pronounced that number before. But nonetheless, good sign for the network. The Bitcoin network hash rate topped 1 zettahash per second for the first time in Bitcoin's 16-year history. Congratulations, pretty little bitty going up forever, Laura. According to several blockchain data sources, the Bitcoin hash rate crossed the milestone. It was actually April 5th at the peak, 1.025 zettahashes per second. According to Mempool space data, while the Bitcoin frame data said it hit 1.02 zettahashes per second the day earlier. Data from Coin Wars says Bitcoin hash rate soared to as high as 1.1 zettahash per second April 4th at block height 890, 915. However, the same data indicates that the Bitcoin first crossed 1 zettahash on March 24th. Excuse me. The differences result from the varying approaches used to calculate the hash, such as when the block times and difficulty adjustments are measured, where the Bitcoin nodes and miner pools are used to pull the data from more and more. Bitcoin cypherpunk Jameson Lopp also previously pointed out that estimating the Bitcoin hash rate with one trailing block as opposed to 5 can result in a difference of over 0.04 zettahashes per second. Quoting him here, viewing the raw hash rate metric can be deceiving due to the random variations of the block times. So there you have it. But despite the discrepancies, the feature highlights the massive amount of computational power and increasing decentralization of the Biddy network, making it more secure than ever and significantly reducing the likelihood of a 51% attack. That's another silver lining. The network has never been as secure as it currently is. The Bitcoin network reported a rise of 1 zettahash per second, equivalent to 1,000 exahashes per second, marking a 1,000x increase since late January of 2016. Literally 2 halvings ago, when the Bitcoin first hit 1 exahash per second for the first time. The second largest proof of work crypto network is Litecoin, currently boasts a hash rate of almost 2.5 petahashes per second and making it around 40,000 times less computationally powerful than the pretty little bitty going up forever Laura. And as Pierre shares, the Bitcoin mining hash rate is rapidly approaching 1 zettahash, and we officially hit the top. Now, he also noted there's a huge rise in hash rate coinciding with the more commercial Bitcoin mining firms competing to solve the bitty blocks of the recent years. Quoting him here, miners are doubling down, expanding sites and plugging into more efficient machines. Marathon Holdings is the largest bitty miner with more than 50 exahashes per second of computational power, with the largest share of the hash rate channeled to the Bitcoin mining pools, Foundry, USA Pool, and Ant Pool, according to the hash rate index. And at least 24 publicly listed bitty companies have machines set up to mine the bitty. And amongst the other large miners contributing to the hash rate are Riot Platforms, Core Scientific, CleanSpark, and Hut 8, which recently just formed a strategic partnership with the Trump family. Now, the Bitcoin hash rate soars as the Bitcoin plummets on recession fears. Again, the silver lining, and quoting Max Kaiser, the Bitcoin price follows the hash rate. So even though the fiat equivalent is sinking, the bright picture here is it's only a matter of time before we recapture all-time highs, especially considering it's the year preceding the halving. I do not think the cycle peak is in at 109 because typically we rise 5, 10, 20x post-halving. Next story of the day, broskies. Let's discuss the Bitcoin ETPs, the exchange-traded products. That's right. Crypto ETPs shed $240 million last week amid the U.S. trade tariffs. Crypto exchange-traded products saw renewed outflows last week with $240 million, and investor capital pulled, according to the April 7th report. The outflows reversed 2 consecutive weeks of inflows that total $870 million, leaving the total digital asset ETP holdings at about $133 billion. The new outflows likely reflect investor caution in response to the global trade tariffs imposed by the U.S. and concerns over their potential threat to the global economic growth. CoinShares head of research, James Butterfill, shared, not to be confused with Butterbean. Bitcoin ETPs led the downturn, 207 million of the weekly outflows, and as a result, monthly flows turned negative for the first time in the year, with 138 million in net outflows over the past month. And despite the monthly outflows turning red, the Bitcoin ETPs still maintain a significant amount of inflows year to date, totaling 1.3 billion. As outlined right here, Bitcoin leading the pack, followed by Ethereum, multi-asset Solana, XRP, Sui, and Litecoin. Check it. Grayscale leads the ETP outflows. That's right. Crypto ETPs by major crypto investment firm Grayscale led the losses amongst issuers last week, with 95 million withdrawn from its products. Grayscale's year-to-date outflows now stand at 1.4 billion. Damn, the highest amongst all the ETP providers. At one point, Grayscale was like the largest holder of Bitcoin. They had like over 600,000 Bitcoin, and then they just been outflows after outflows since the ETS went live when they converted their product from a trust, Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, to the ETF, ironic enough. And now, what's its name? BlackRock, the largest asset manager, is the one crushing it the most, over 50 billion worth of inflows since they launched. Speaking of BlackRock, they still maintain 3.2 billion year-to-date inflows after seeing 56 million in outflows last week. Also, crypto ETPs by ProShares and ARK Invest are the only two other major issuers that still have inflows year-to-date, mounting to almost 400 million and 146 million respectively. And if you don't know, now you know, broskies. But yeah, next story of the day, broskies. Conor McGregor coin, I warned you, it launched yesterday, and I said I wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole, and I expressed why you should stay away from it. Well, headline today, Conor McGregor's token creators to refund bidders after a failed launch. Womp womp. Investors who bid on the real token promoted by former UF champ McGregor will receive a full refund after the project failed to even raise 1 million minimum requirement. That's pretty sad, but I'm proud of you guys for not supporting the bullshit. Quoting them here, we need to be real. We didn't hit our minimum raise. The developers of the real token shared. Real World Gaming said in the April 6th post, all bids will be refunded in full. And you know what? I respect that. Give the people their money back. It was a failed project from the start. This is not the end, though, they said. The team only managed to raise $392,000 in USDC over a 28-hour pre-sale, April 5th and 6th, less than half of the minimum required. And that's with Conor McGregor tweeting about it, telling everyone this is going to be the next big game changer in crypto. I called bullshit, and I'm proud of that call because I was obviously right. The public sale of the 60 million real tokens, 3% of the total 2 billion real supply, initially targeted a fully diluted value of 120 million with a sealed bid auction starting at 6 cents per token. Only 668 participants were involved. That's an epic fail when you got Hawk Tuah Girl having more successful launches than Conor McGregor. McGregor, the UFC fighter turned entrepreneur and Ireland political candidate. He claims he's going to run for president in Ireland. Initially claimed his token would be more legitimate than any other celebrity endorsed token with frequency resulted in which, obviously there's rug pulls every launch. This is quoting him. This isn't some celebrity endorsed bullshit token. It's a real game changer that will improve the crypto ecosystem as well as make real change in the world. So much for that real change in the world. Here's a message from Conor himself.
It's red panty night when you sanctify me, eh? Back at home with your wife.
It's a celebration. I mean, you can't make this shit up. He literally tweeted, ladies and gentlemen, this is real.
It's a celebration. People are always saying about the talk, and I talk, but guess fucking what? I back it up.
He backs it up, though. The real token launched in the middle of a sharp market downturn. I'm sure that didn't help him. With Bitcoin falling, while the U.S. stocks saw an estimated 6.6 trillion in losses, April 3rd and 4th, the largest two-day loss ever as Trump's tariff plans continue to raise recession fears. Meanwhile, meme coins have also been cooling off since the launch of the official Trump meme coin, January 18th of 2025, as well as the Libra token scandal involving President Javier Milei in Argentina in late February also exacerbated the downwards trend. The once 100 billion meme coin market has now fallen below 44 billion and is down 13% over the last 24 hours. Here's my speculation. I think more and more celebrities will continue to launch more meme tokens now that the SEC and regulators have deemed that they're not unregistered securities. So if the Hawk Tuah girl can get away with the rug pull, why wouldn't endless celebrities continue to do the same thing, pillaging the crypto market? But there you have it. Again, I'm proud of you guys for not supporting the bullshit. And if you don't support it, we'd see less of the bullshit in the markets. All right, next story of the day. We'll discuss the latest from Saylor. And then we'll discuss, a silver lining that if we do repeat the 2020 cycle and we drop a collective of 45% from the top, which would mean a 60,000 bottom, that we can ascend 10x, potentially hitting 600,000. But first, Michael Saylor strategy halts Bitcoin buys despite a dip below 77. I don't know why it says 87. Maybe that's a typo. We know we just tapped 74,420 here this morning. But yeah, Michael Saylor's firm strategy, the world's largest publicly listed corporate holder of the Biddy, did not add to its Bitcoin holdings last week as Bitcoin price has now bottomed out at 74,420. My thinking is he's probably buying behind the scenes and hasn't announced it yet, but that's just my thinking. Let me know your thoughts. In a filing with the US SEC April 7th, Strategy announced it made no Bitcoin purchases during the week of March 31st to April 6th, so it didn't pull the trigger for this week. The decision followed a week of heightened market volatility, with Bitcoin surging as high as 87,000 April 2nd after starting the week around 82, according to CoinGecko. Maybe he anticipated a further dip, and it was just a strategic decision, considering we dropped significantly from there. Bitcoin fell below 80 April 6th, a significant discount from the average price of Strategy's previous 22,000 Bitcoin purchase, which was its most recent, which they announced on March 31st. In the period from March 31st to April 6th, Strategy also did not sell any shares of their Class A common stock, which it tends to use for financing the Bitcoin buys, according to the filing. And as of April 7th, Strategy held an aggregate amount of 528,000 Bitcoin bought for $35 billion at an average price of 67,458 per BTC. Quoting Strategy B's report here, our unrealized loss on digital assets for the quarter ended March 31st, 2025 was $5.91 billion, which we expect will result in a net loss for the quarter ended March 31st, 2025, partially offset by a related income tax benefit of $1.69 billion. Bitcoin is the most volatile because it is the most useful. And while Strategy avoided buying Bitcoin last week, their co-founder Mikey Saylor, the Giga Chad, continued posting about the crypto asset superiority on social media, quoting him here, Bitcoin is the most volatile because it's the most useful, Saylor wrote on a post soon after Bitcoin tumbled from the intra-week high of 87 on April 2nd to below 82, following the tariff announcement by the POTUS, the Trumpster. And quoting Saylor, Bitcoin is the most volatile because it is the most useful. Today's market reaction to the tariffs is a reminder inflation is just the tip of the iceberg. Capital faces dilution from taxes, regulation, competition, obsolescence, and unforeseen events. Bitcoin offers resilience in a world full of the hidden risk. And if you don't know, now you know. Biddy Broskies. All right, now for our featured story of the day. If Bitcoin were to repeat the previous cycle, that means we can potentially drop down to $60,000, hence a 65% crash from the top before soaring 10x, so potentially hit 600,000, if not 2025, then by late 2026. So here's a post that caught my attention by Luke Broyles, and I'm going to read it for you. You should be able to see this on your screen. He wrote this on X. 5 years ago, we had a stock market crisis in 2020. That was post-Novid. Bitcoin fell 40% in one day. One day, I remind you. So what's a 5% correction? People panicking when we have dropped 40% in a single day and a total of 25% collectively. The S&P 500 fell almost 10% on that same day. Bitcoin bottomed at 4,000. I know what I did. I made one of my larger, Bitcoin purchases. I believe I had like 20 grand cash sitting around and I bought 5 Bitcoin for $4 grand. What did you guys do post COVID crash? Let me know. Then it went up 17x in the rebound from the crisis as we printed money. Pretty little money printer go. Brr. Now, if Bitcoin falls 45% from the top and does a 10x in a similar time frame, we'd see a $600,000 biddy in late 2026, which obviously next year. I don't care if Bitcoin is 50,000 or 600,000 next year. It is lower risk and more humanitarian than corporate paper. I agree with that. And if you're more worried about your Bitcoins being worth more or less next year than the 10 million going to die from inefficiency in the next year, you and I aren't in the same mission. Stocks had a higher human cost, less upside, and higher downside risk in time frames over 2 years. No matter what the prices do, I expect the S&P 500 to fall 80% against Bitcoin in the next 5 years. Let me know if you agree or disagree with that. I also suspect in 5 years, 60,000 will sound as cheap as 4,000. And most will forget the pain of April 2025 like most forgot March of 2020. My only fear is for those with sub 5% exposure, which is for basically everyone I know besides me. The deeper this market crash, the more terrifying the big print in the next 18 months. And as you can see, I mean, the chart says it all. You can see the March 12th, 2020 post-Novid outbreak economic shutdown, the big red taking us down 40% in a single day for a collective drop of 65% from the top. And then we resurrected and bada boom, we bought some biddies and pretty little bitty been doing its thing. Do you think history is likely to repeat? Let me know your thoughts. I'm also going to pull up the X account of the high priest, the one and only Max Kaiser. And let's see some of his most recent post here. Shout out CUBO over there in El Salvador. Obviously, they've been teaching kids. The education is phenomenal out there, teaching people about the biddy. Also, the Bitcoin office continues to buying the dippity dip. Their holdings of El Salvador is now 6,140 BTC, valued at roughly $481 million. They purchased 8 Bitcoin in the past 7 days, and they purchased 36 Bitcoin in the past 30 days. I personally love that they, allow us to see exactly what they're doing, and it's all public. This is back at around the 1987 stock market crash, and this is a classic Max Kaiser clip. Stacy reminds us in El Salvador, you can just experience freedom. It is insane. You verify for yourself. Visit El Salvador. Freedom country. And definitely one of my favorite places I've ever visited. Shout out Bitcoin country. Doing big things. And of course, President Bukele. Also some other posts. Hash precedes the price. As I mentioned, the Bitcoin price follows the hash rate. Off the back of the news that the Bitcoin just hit a record high 1 zettahash for the very first time in Bitcoin history. Bitcoin dominance hits levels not seen since 2020 as the altcoins melt down. That's right. The Bitcoin dominance just achieved 62.5% dominance. Ether dominance, the lowest I have seen it in years. Japan is down 10%. Bitcoin is down 6%. Decoupling back on the menu. Bitcoin withstood the 5th worst 2-day window for stocks since 1945. Barely even flinched. Good reminder. Also just in, Japanese Prime Minister says he's ready to visit the U.S. to negotiate tariffs with President Trump. Apparently, Trump is not budging. Some were anticipating Trump to change his stance, but it seems he's doubling down. No, this isn't a crypto meme coin. This is the Japanese stock market. Look at that. Straight up plummeting. So it'll be an interesting discussion with the Prime Minister of Japan and the Trumpster. Someone put here, to be clear, if China's yuan, which is their local currency, has an abrupt devaluation, it will be due to the China running out of dollars to defend the artificial peg against the U.S. dollar. China desperately needs a strong yuan to support the imports of crude, LNG, and food daily. Max is calling for a crash. He says, bring it. You call this a storm? You ain't seen nothing yet. Also, Taiwan announced to intent to eliminate all tariffs and trade barriers to the U.S. by using the Mexico and Canada trade agreement as a blueprint. Taiwan joins Israel, India, Cambodia, and Vietnam, indicating a desire to eliminate all tariffs. And meanwhile, GameStop CEO holding $6 billion in cash, looking at Bitcoin below 80 Gs. You already know. And of course, that's the documentary film they made on Pablo Escobar. I remember seeing that when it came out. But nonetheless, I actually got to visit Escobar's grave and tombstone. I did the Escobar tour. I used to live in Medellin, Colombia, if you don't know. Now you know, El Poblado, baby. But welcome everyone to the stream. This is the Q&A segment. We just finished our featured story. Close to 1,900 people here. I'm going to stick around for a bonus hour. So this is your opportunity to get your comments read out loud. And for those that don't know, the commenting is coming from the YouTube stream over at cryptonewsalerts.net.